Hello everyone, here's Massa Dorfard from Coinix. Coinix is a blockchain investment firm based in Hamburg, and we make it possible for everyone to have exposure to digital assets and to have a diverse blockchain portfolio. Today I'm going to interview the CEO and co-founder of Kima Network, which is one of the success stories in Coinix portfolio. They had recently a very successful token launch, and today you're going to learn what exactly does Kima Network. Eitan, it's great to have you here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So to begin with, would you please tell us how did you end up in the blockchain industry? What is your story?
Back in 2013, I came across an interesting PDF in one of the technical forums that I spent time on. It was an 18-page document, which we know as the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper. I read it. It's not a long document. That was, in a way, a mind-blowing experience because I understood when I read it the first time that it combines three moonshot disruptions, a financial one, a technical one, and a social one. The potential of having complete ownership over digital assets and the ability to move them peer-to-peer is really something that I understood that has the potential of changing the way we transact, the way societies can move value, the whole trust structure that humankind has created for decades or centuries. Without the need for intermediaries, we can do things faster in a more secure way. I started looking into that very early on. I started experimenting by buying some fractions of Bitcoin just for the sake of the experience. I noticed the potential vulnerabilities of the ecosystem, mostly the wallets. The Bitcoin wallets were phone applications, and that wasn't very secure. So putting my technical hat on, I wanted to change that. And along with two friends, cryptography experts, we designed a new type of a wallet that was more secure. It was the first MPC-based wallet for Bitcoin. Before the days of cold wallets like Ledger and the others, it was user-friendly. So we redesigned the whole user experience. So it wasn't frightening, it was secure. It was easy to use. So that was the first project. It was an open source project. We did everything organically. It wasn't a startup. Maybe it should have been, but that really got me into the space. And after that, I was involved in an arbitrage, algorithmic trading startup. Eventually, that led me to one of the biggest problems in this space, and that is interoperability, which is what Kima solves today.
How would you explain your project to your grandma if somebody who is not tech savvy wants to understand what does Kima Network do? What would you say to that question?
Yeah, so this is actually pretty easy to explain because the problem of interoperability, regardless of blockchain, is known to everyone. The easiest way is to explain if I want to send someone money from, let's say, Germany to Hong Kong. So today I have to use the banking system, which is also not very interoperable. Even banks are not interoperable. Banks have been around for decades. We had computer systems in banks, and still sending money between a bank in Germany to a bank in Guatemala may take 4 business days. And the reason is that these banks are not connected. So they have to use intermediaries. They have to use correspondent banks to send money to, and sometimes there are 2 intermediaries in between, and every leg is 1 business day. To solve interoperability issues, we need intermediaries. That's the old world. That's the traditional world. Now, then came the blockchain and wanted to solve that by creating everything digital. We have digital currencies. Digital currencies can move at the speed of light, but we have so many blockchains that by design cannot communicate with each other. So we end up with the same problem like the banking system. So we need, again, intermediaries or what we call bridges. The problem is that bridges sometimes may be not very safe. They get hacked from time to time due to several vulnerabilities. And what Kima does is it really solves the interoperability problem at a broader scale. We don't look just at solving specific problems between blockchains. We don't use bridges. We created a completely new architecture that is completely agnostic to the technological stack, so we can connect one chain to the other without bridges. We can even connect blockchains to bank accounts because we're completely agnostic. It's a patent pending architecture. So basically, we enable the move of messages and money between any type of ecosystem, traditional, new ones, private chains, public chains, Bitcoin. We don't care.
Most of the projects which are tackling the interoperability issue, they're either bridges or oracles, and they come with their own risks and security issues. But what I love about Kima Network is that it's adding multiple layers of security using the coupled validation and trusted execution environments, and it's like an innovative new solution to this interoperability issue. You have already mentioned some of the problems that existed in the industry, which Kima Network is trying to address them, but is there anything else you want to mention regarding the problems that are getting solved by Kima Network?
Yeah, obviously the interoperability problems, they manifest themselves in every, I would say, computing ecosystem. So I mentioned messaging. Obviously, sending money is a problem. Messaging between systems. Take it, for instance, the problem of getting exchange rates. If there's a smart contract, if we use a decentralized application, it relies on, and it needs to exchange money. It relies on exchange rates. So we have oracles getting data out of enterprise systems. Again, oracles may have their own vulnerabilities and potential attacks. So moving messages between ecosystems, regardless whether they're blockchain based or not, took the blockchain capabilities of removing intermediaries, and we apply it to any type of need to connect ecosystems, regardless of whether it's a blockchain or not. So that applies to messaging, that applies to communication between AI agents, that applies to CBDCs, anything that requires interconnectivity can use Kima as the fabric for messaging and payments.
When was the first moment that the idea of Kima Network came into your mind?
So actually, we started the founding team started with a completely different idea. We created a set of tools for hedge funds to enable automatic hedging. So we implemented hedging strategies for hedge funds and family offices investing in crypto. Crypto is obviously very volatile asset class, and hedging is needed. As we know, it tends to move up sharply, but also move down sharply. So that was the problem that initially we wanted to solve. And we had one potential customer on the Solana ecosystem that wanted to apply these hedging strategies. To do hedging, you need derivatives, you need options, and none of those existed back then on the Solana ecosystem. So we wanted to leverage options on a centralized exchange like Deribit. We wanted to leverage DYDX and other derivatives protocols on the Ethereum ecosystem. So we needed a mixture of solutions from multiple ecosystems. And we started looking at existing solutions that would allow us to implement it, and we couldn't find any. We weren't happy with the existing solutions. They were not broad enough. They were not secure enough. So we started thinking what would be the ultimate solution for this problem. And that's when we started designing Kima. With a completely different architecture from anyone else. And eventually we realized that solves a much bigger problem than the original problem. So we decided to go all in, use what we designed as a solution for a broader set of challenges.
There are millions of blockchain projects out there, but not all of them are actually needed. And when you start to do something and then you realize there is an issue and then you offer the solution yourself, try to find a solution for that, that means your project is really needed in the industry and it's really offering a real value. Would you mention some of the recent updates, advancements, partnerships, anything else that you want to mention about Kima Network?
We released our mainnet. That's the production version of Kima. At the end of November, we already onboarded 5 projects to integrate the Kima mainnet. Another noteworthy achievement was a very interesting project that we did as part of the Central Bank of Israel sandbox. So they had a challenge. They selected 14 companies to implement various use cases with CBDC. So we were one of those select group of companies. We implemented a very unique use case where we showcased how a CBDC can be used to purchase a tokenized stock, real-world asset, where Kima functions as a decentralized escrow to enable the atomic swap. So the buyer can purchase a tokenized stock with the CBDC. The seller is selling the tokenized stock, but the seller wants to receive fiat currency. So there is a need to do the swap between the two parties. What we did was an atomic swap without intermediaries. Kima functions as a decentralized escrow to hold the funds and enable the swap. But the extra thing that we added was an off-ramp transaction. Once payment was received in a digital form in the CBDC, it was converted off-ramped to the fiat currency. So we created the two things here. We showcased how one transaction from a user experience perspective is both the swap and the conversion. It's the first time that a peer-to-peer transaction happens without smart contracts and a digital ecosystem. And the second is the off-ramp part, where there's a complete distinction, separation between the payment currency and the received currency. They don't have to be the same. I can pay with what I have got, and the seller can get paid with what he or she needs or wants. And those are not necessarily the same. And the whole thing happens in a very, very smooth user experience without involving the parties in the complexities of these transactions.
Now, what about competitors? Is there anyone else in the industry which is doing the exact thing that Kima Network is doing? And if yes, what makes your project stand out?
Kima is an infrastructure project. We are this layer that does the settlements and the communication, the messaging part. So obviously, there are multiple alternatives in the blockchain, cross-chain interoperability. There are dozens of projects that are bridges that are providing the ability to move between blockchains. They're all doing it with what we consider as vulnerable practices. They are either creating synthetic tokens for the sake of the bridging. They're using smart contracts. Private keys are needed to secure the funds. And these are attack vectors. Smart contracts are attack vectors. Private keys are attack vectors. Those are great technologies, but when you use them to hold funds, then they may be vulnerable. So Kima stands out by offering a completely different architecture that does not rely on smart contracts whatsoever. So there's no way to hack the Kima protocol through smart contracts or private keys because they don't exist in our architecture. Another segment is related to the on-ramp, off-ramp segment, where there's a need to move from a cryptocurrency to fiat currency and vice versa. By the way, all the bridges, the cross-chain bridges, don't have this capability. Kima is the only blockchain that can also facilitate the transfer of stablecoin, let's say USDC, USDT, into a real dollar and vice versa, or euros or other currencies. So these on-ramp, off-ramp protocols are basically intermediaries. Those are centralized entities that do this type of exchange. Kima is a decentralized protocol that enables these conversions without an intermediary. And by the way, it's the same API. So Kima doesn't make any distinctions between stablecoin and the real currency, fiat currency. Same API can move USDT to USDC. It can move USDT to real dollar. So from the project's perspective, we're a B2B protocol. They can apply the same API and handle any type of asset. So that really makes us different. We also see a variety of solutions that combine crypto cryptocurrencies and credit cards, for instance. We did a project with an issuer. We work with the MasterCard Innovation Lab. We did a project with one of their issuers where we combined the MasterCard network for prepaid cards with a non-custodial wallet. So people could top up MasterCard prepaid card with stable coins from their non-custodial wallets. There are others that offer it, but nobody does it without an intermediary, which can save money. It's more efficient. Obviously, by removing intermediaries, you get more efficiency and more security. So again, we stand out given the architecture that it's a decentralized, distributed architecture. No need to put a man in the middle or a company in the middle that will do these conversions. It's an API that is open for anyone without relying on some kind of intermediaries.
We believe that Kima Network is unique, and that's why we have it in our portfolio. There are a lot of people out there who have not invested in the blockchain industry and they are not open to this technology. They don't even want to learn about it. What is your message to these people?
I always separate investment and speculative aspect of investments from the utility and the technological innovation. First, I would tell these people that soon they will invest in companies that use blockchain and they will not even be aware of it. If they invest in AI, the convergence of blockchain and AI is coming. Even if it's not a blockchain per se, it will have blockchain embedded. We see enterprises using stablecoins for efficiency purposes. It's a question if one wants to get exposed to the up and coming infrastructure. Again, not an investment advice, but blockchain is definitely one of these components in the future infrastructure for efficient money movements, as well as other use cases in supply chain, variety of other industries. So it's not when people think blockchain, sometimes they think Trump coin, meme coins, and gambling. Whereas Kima is not in that space. We're building a financial infrastructure for the long term. We believe that this is here to stay. We see already serious companies, banks, financial institutions, and other companies already applying the efficiencies of blockchain. It's an essential component in the future infrastructure of large-scale systems. I see this along the lines of AI and quantum computing and other innovations in computing systems.
Exactly. So in the future, people might even use applications which are using blockchain technology in the background, but people don't even know it, just like we're using high-tech devices at the moment, and we don't really know how the technology works, but we use them on a daily basis. We're really glad to have Kima Network in our portfolio, and we're excited to see what the future holds for Kima Network. Thank you for doing this interview.
Thank you, Masha.